Hi everyone, thank you for joining me. My name is Kassandra and this is an intermediate full body flow. So we're particularly going to work on twists, hip openers, as well as back bends in this practice. It is definitely going to be intermediate in level, so I'll have a few little challenging poses and transitions for you. A great way to work equally on strength as well as flexibility. You'll notice I have a strap here. It's not necessary. It's just at the end of the class when we're cooling down, we'll do a little reclined leg stretch sequence. I just know that I like to do it with a strap, but if you don't have one at home, don't worry about it. You can even use like a belt or a TheraBand, or you can really just use your hands and your arms. So don't feel like because you don't have a strap, you can't do this class. It's really only used for that one little sequence at the end. Otherwise, no props are required, and we are going to start sitting. So I'm doing this just kind of like a cross-legged position. I just have my right shin in front of my left one. We're going to bring our hands over the tops of the knees, and we'll do what is called circumduction. So it's when you revolve around the axis. It's basically a fancy way of doing a circular cat and cow. So hands on your knees, all you're going to do is trace these circles with your rib cage. So you might want to think more of your belly button or more of your heart, just moving around in a circle. So trying to get into every little corner of your upper body, emphasizing upper back, mid back, lower back, and just noticing where there might be tightness or stiffness, and you can reverse the direction of those circles. Try to stay grounded through both sit bones. And we'll come back through to center, finding a side bend from here. Right arm reaches up and over, big side body stretch. Keep lengthening out through your right arm. Then press your left elbow straight. We'll find a twist from here, right hand to your left knee, left arm behind you for support as you open and twist to the left. So keep both hip bones facing forward with your knees. Draw your lower belly in to help lift you up a little bit taller. So there's no rounding, no slouching. It's a flat back even in this twist, this spinal rotation. And exhale, let's release, side bend to the other side. Left arm reaches up and over. Really extend, stretching out through those left fingertips. No tension in your jaw or in your neck. Push into your left sit bone. And then straightening that right arm, twist to the other way. So left hand to your right knee, right fingertips go behind you just to help you lift and lengthen a little more. And then rotate over towards the right. And the more you can hug belly button to spine, the more you'll be able to twist a little bit deeper. And let's release, finding a little butterfly fold. We won't be here for too long. I'm going to keep my heels fairly far away from my seat. You might have them closer in, but just take a few breaths here as you fold on down. And in this pose, I'm focusing on lifting out of my lower back. So I'm stretching along both sides of the waist. I'm just checking in to see how the hips are feeling. Coming all the way up. Bring your knees in, feet flat on the floor. Find your reverse tabletop pose. Hands go behind you. Oops. Fingertips pointing towards your heels, and you can push the feet into the mat, squeeze through your seat to lift on up. So getting that first little stretch, I feel this a lot through my shoulders. We'll have a few back bending poses. So we want to make sure our shoulders are feeling nice. And let's release, crossing at the ankles, tabletop pose. We'll do the traditional versions of cat and cow. Hands under your shoulders, knees underneath your hips, spread your fingertips wide. As you inhale, drop the belly, lift the gaze, curl tailbone up. And as you exhale, round and contract, chin to chest, tailbone down. And just keep going in and out of those two poses. So we're trying to get all of the essential movements in our spine through this warm-up before we really tackle our standing poses and our deeper poses. Take one more. And focusing on the chest and shoulders a bit more, find your puppy pose from here. So walk your hands out in front of you and go ahead and melt forehead down to the mat. I'm keeping my elbows lifted off of the floor for this variation. So keeping my arms active. And sliding forward onto your belly. We'll find little baby cobras from here. So feet are hip width distance apart. Point your toes back behind you. Slide your hands back. And you're going to push into the tops of the feet. Inhale, upper body lifts up. Squeeze your shoulder blades behind you. Exhale to lower down. 4 more like this. So inhale, upper body strength. And exhale to lower. Squeeze and lift. Exhale, release. Last one, inhale. And exhale, lower. Reach your arms back, full locust pose, Shalambhasana. So this time the legs lift up as well. If this feels uncomfortable for your lower back, let it go. And back of the neck stays long. Big breath in here. And let's release tabletop pose. See if you can reverse a little push-up or a little half push-up as you come back through to tabletop. And we'll find a deeper twist here coming into thread the needle. So I'm bringing my knees back underneath my hips. Inhale, reach your right arm up, open twist. And exhale, thread it through, shoulder and ear come down to the mat. So once you lower your ear down, think of pushing into your right hip a little bit more so your hips stay centered and stacked over your knees. And I'm going to extend my left arm up overhead, pushing into my left palm. And the more you can really push both arms into the ground, the deeper you'll find this twist and more of an expansion that you'll feel through the upper back. I know this can be a little bit of an awkward pose for people. You kind of have to play around a little bit with it to be able to connect with the sensation that I want you to feel in this pose. We're looking for an opening through the shoulder blades, a nice stretch through the arms, as well as a deep spinal rotation, deep twist. Let's bring our left hand back towards the head, push into your left palm, come all the way up and re-extend that right arm up. Notice if there's a bit more space. And let's release. Same thing to the other side. Inhale, left arm rises. Exhale, thread it through. So gently placing temple or ear down to the mat. And now notice my hips went all the way over to the right, so I'm going to push into my left hip to restack it over my knee, and I'm going to straighten my right arm to push into the ground. Slide the right arm back, push the right hand into the mat, inhale, open up, and let's release, coming into our first downward facing dog. So I'm going to bring my hands a couple inches past the shoulders, tuck the toes under, and lift the hips up and back. So feet are roughly hip width distance apart or so, bend your knees as much as you need to, really stretch out through your legs. Think of pulling the lower belly in. And quieting through the legs, we're going to reach our right leg up towards the sky, bend your right knee, open up your hip. Think of pushing a little bit more into your left heel and use that action to lift your right knee even higher. We're going to come to our lizard pose. So I'm going to step my right foot to the outer edge of my right hand, all the way at the top of the mat. So both palms are on the inside here, and I'm keeping my back knee lifted. And I like to just kind of rock back and forth. You can have a little bit of a buoyancy here through your hips. We'll add a twist in this pose, so stay on your left hand, right arm up. And from here into Virabhadrasana 2 or Warrior 2. So right hand comes down. I'm gonna bring my right foot in just a little bit. Turn the back heel parallel to the shorter edge of your mat and push into the feet in order to lift on up. Palms facing down to the mat. Squeeze that right knee open. Shoulders over your hips. Let's reverse. Left hand down, right arm up. Back into your Warrior 2. Extended side angle. I'm gonna bring my right forearm just onto my thigh, and instead of bringing my left arm up overhead, you're welcome to do that variation. I'm gonna do a little half bind. So I'm gonna bring my left hand towards my lower back, roll that left shoulder back, and if you can, see if you can reach just through that thigh crease. So towards your right thigh. My hips are still pressing down. So big shoulder opening here. Maybe you keep this half bind as you straighten that right leg, coming into your triangle pose, staying lifted and tall. Looking down towards the mat, start to bend into that front knee, frame that front foot with both hands, and we find our flow. Inhale to plank pose, exhale, lower down. Cobra, back bend here, and we meet downward facing dog. Stretching it out here in your down dog. Second side, left leg rises. Bend your left knee, open up your hip, push a little bit more into that right heel. And we're coming to lizard. So your left foot steps to the outer edge of your left hand. My knee is stacked directly over my ankle, both palms to the inside. And try not to let all of your body weight sink into your wrists here. Keep pushing into fingertips and knuckles. Again, finding that same little buoyancy through the hips, so we're not too stiff and stagnant in the pose. You can quiet the movement, adding your twist, left arm up. Roll that right shoulder back. And we're coming to Warrior 2. So left hand down, I'm gonna bring my left foot in just a couple inches or so. Back foot spins parallel to the shorter edge of your mat as you lift on up. Arms reach out, palms facing down. Notice sometimes our upper body tends to lean towards the thigh, pull it back. Pushing into both feet evenly. And let's reverse, right hand down, left arm up. Big side body stretch here. Back to Warrior 2. Extended side angle, left forearm to your thigh, maybe adding your half bind, bringing that right hand towards your waist, maybe reaching the right fingertips towards the inner left thigh. You can always leave this out and just do the arm bicep along the ear. And from here, we come into our triangle pose. I'm going to maintain my bind as I do this. Just bring my left hand onto my shin for a little extra support. Looking down at the floor, bend into that front knee, frame your front foot, take your flow. I'm gonna do that same variation again, lowering all the way down to my belly. Bhujangasana, cobra pose. Exhale, downward facing dog. All right, building on a little bit more heat, I'm gonna give you the option of doing Wild Thing. If you know this is not suitable either for your shoulder or for your upper back, you're just gonna hang out in three-legged dog. Let's all start there. Right leg up, bend your right knee, open up your hip. Either hold here or you can flip over. So right toes step down. I'm pushing into both feet, both legs, reaching that right arm up and over. Bit of a side bend, bit of a back bend. Just one more breath in here, and we're all going to find a low lunge. So right hand comes down, right foot steps to the top of the mat, back knee comes down, and go ahead and lift on up. So instead of collapsing completely through our hips, think of lifting up a little bit, tailbone down, lower belly hugs in, open, and we'll add a twist from here. So I'm gonna bring my left hand to the outer edge of my right knee, and my right arm reaches towards the back of the mat. And maybe you're able to press your hips a little bit more forward, but don't worry so much about this part of it right now. Releasing to face forward, Ardha Hanumanasana, your half splits pose. Straighten through that right leg, maybe crawl or inch that right heel further forward. I'm flexing through that foot. I'm keeping a flat back, so you'll notice I'm not going very far. Coming back into our low lunge, this time you can add a quad stretch. So a twist as well as a hip opener. Left hand stays on the mat, bend into your left knee, reach back with your hand and see if you can pull that heel in towards your seat. Keep rolling that right shoulder back, pushing into fingertips and knuckles, keeping the body weight out of your wrist. Carefully release the hold of the foot from here to Skandasana, so a side low lunge. You're going to lift your back knee off the mat and pivot so that you're now onto your left heel. My right foot is at about a 45-degree angle or so, and I'm just gonna use my hands at my heart, pushing that thigh open. If your balance is wobbly, you can always just keep your hands down on the mat. Really try to just find the variation that feels the best to you right now. And now a bit more of a challenge. We're gonna do a variation of Wild Thing from this pose. So a bit more coordination. This time you're gonna bring your left hand back behind you and the right hand is gonna reach up and over as you press and lift up. So really working the pose in a different way. We're not here too long. Take another big deep breath. And carefully release, let your hips sit all the way back down this time and bring your right foot to the inside of that thigh. We'll come into a side body stretch. Right arm is gonna reach all the way up and over. And now folding forward towards that right leg. Maybe grabbing a hold of the foot. Slowly coming on up. Make sure you're facing forward towards the top of the mat and try to pick up your knee to your nose. So squeezing it in. And three-legged dog right where we began. Just stretch it up and back. Downward facing dog. Let's take our vinyasa from here. Inhale, plank. Chaturanga, maybe halfway. Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, your upward facing dog. And we meet downward dog. So setting up for the second side, remember you don't have to do Wild Thing. If it does not feel good for your shoulders, you can just stay in three-legged dog. Left leg rises, bend your left knee, open it up, and then maybe continue to flip on over, left toes behind you, push down, left arm reaches up and back. And we're coming from here into our low lunge. So looking down at the top of the mat, carefully step that left foot through. Back knee comes down to the floor and I'm gonna lift myself up. So I'm making sure I have my left knee directly over the top of my ankle, keeping my hips underneath my shoulders as I press forward. My right hand is gonna go to the outer edge of my left knee. Left arm stretches back. One more deep breath in here. Into your half split, so take that hamstring stretch, straightening out that left leg. I'm keeping a flat back here, so not really folding down at all, really. Bending back into that front leg. Let's find our quad stretch. Right hand stays grounded on the mat underneath your shoulder. Left arm reaches back, grabs a hold of the heel to pull it in. Try to keep your seat low instead of lifting it up to meet the foot. Release carefully the hold of that foot. Skandasana to the other side, so your side low lunge. You're gonna rotate so that you're onto your right heel. My left foot is now at about a 45-degree angle or so. I'm just gonna do hands at the heart, using my left elbow to push my left knee open a little bit more. And now from here, this new variation of Wild Thing, right hand will go somewhere back behind you, push into the legs and lift on up. Left arm reaches up and back. As you come down from this one, let your hips settle all the way back down to the floor and bring your left foot to the inside of that right thigh. Let's find a side bend first. Left arm reaches up and over. So roll your left shoulder back. Keep pushing down into that left sit bone. So not focusing on getting low in this one, really focusing on the side body stretch. And now you can twist a little bit so that you fold over towards that right knee. And lifting back up, face over towards the front of your mat. From plank pose, you're picking up that left knee, knee into your nose, and then stretch it back, three-legged dog. Set it back down, downward facing dog, and take your flow. Inhale to plank, exhale to lower. Finding your back bend here. And exhale, lifting your hips up and back. And let's take a little pause in child's pose here. Just bring your big toes together, knees apart, push your hips back, and fold on down. So using this time to reconnect to the rhythm of your breath. Notice if it's rapid and shallow. Try to deepen it once more. It's good to challenge ourselves, but we want to make sure we're still respecting our body's limits, respecting our own boundaries. And go ahead and walk your hands in, lift up. And from here, you can come to take a seat. You're going to bring your right leg out in front of you, and you're going to bend into your left knee, cross your left foot over the top of that thigh. Find your half Lord of the Fishes pose, so a deep seated twist from here. You're going to squeeze your thigh in towards your belly, wrap your right arm around that left leg, left hand goes behind you, open through your chest, so left shoulder rolls back. So slowing down the pace from here on out, focusing a little bit more on flexibility and mobility as opposed to strength and stability. Releasing to face forward. From here, you're going to bend into your right knee to bring it in, and we'll come into Gomukhasana, our cow face pose. So I'm going to stack my left knee, trying to stack it anyway, over the top of the right. It might not make it all the way there, which is totally fine. And I'm going to do the arm variation as well. So this time my left arm will wrap under the right, binding once or twice. And you might choose to stay and hold the pose here, or you can fold on down. Three more deep belly breaths here. I find it easier to unwrap my arms first and then use my hands to push into the floor to slowly lift on up, unwrap your legs. And we'll do the same thing to the other side. So starting with our twist first, bend your right knee, cross your right foot over that thigh and really hug your right thigh in towards you. Right hand goes behind you for support as you open towards the right. And the more you're twisting, the more you're drawing that knee and that thigh towards your chest, while still focusing on length as opposed to contraction. And release Gomukhasana, or cow face pose, or knee pile pose. It's also sometimes called. Bend into that left knee. Stack your right knee as close to the top of your left one as you can. And this time our right arm will bind underneath the left either once or twice. Maybe you hold up here, or you can fold on down. Three more deep belly breaths in and out through your nose. And you can unwind your arms first. Push the hands into the floor, slowly lift back up, and we'll release. We'll be coming down to our backs. If you have a strap, you can grab it, or just make sure it's within grabbing distance. We're not going to use it right away. So lowering yourself down, you can keep your feet flat on the floor, knees bent. We'll come into bridge pose from here. So feet are hip width distance apart. Shrug your shoulders away from your ears. Palms facing up to the sky, and then pushing down into the heels, squeeze through your seat and lift your hips up. We're trying to really flatten this angle of the hips while keeping the inner thighs engaged and hugging into the midline. Pushing into your big toes. Really keeping that body weight in your heels. And then slowly lower down, inch by inch. And just a different variation of this bridge pose, you can bring your feet slightly closer in to one another, so still about an inch or two apart, and then open the legs up as if you were doing reclined butterfly pose, but we're gonna lift up to bridge from here. So pushing into the sides of your feet, squeezing through your hips and through your glutes, go ahead and lift on up. You probably won't be going up as high, so just an external variation of this bridge pose. Try to keep those knees pressing open, working through those outer glutes. Big breath in here. And exhale to release. Grab a hold of your strap. If you're using one, we're just going to come into our reclined leg stretch sequence. So you can really just do this with your arms and your hands. Don't worry if you don't have the prop at home. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap it around the ball of the right foot, straightening the right leg up, and I'm going to straighten my left leg down as well. If this feels too intense, keep the knee bent and the feet flat on the floor. I like using the strap. It does help me to keep my foot flexed, which really does change the sensation of the pose. And we'll open this over to the side, so over to the right. Make sure you're not totally rolling over here. You do need to put a little bit more weight into that left leg and left hip so that it's a bit more of a counterbalance. And then we'll come into our deepest stretch, or deepest twist, I should say, also a very deep stretch. You're going to cross over. So right leg goes all the way up and then all the way across, so that my right hip is now over the top of the left, and I'm going to reach my right arm out to the side. So my foot at least is hovering off the ground because I'm trying to keep my right leg straight, but you might be able to have your foot drop all the way down. One more deep belly breath. And bend into the knee, release back through to center. And we'll do this over on the second side. So this time, left leg, starting that first variation where we're just stacking directly over our left hip, right leg straightens. And I am using some arm strength, but try to relax your shoulders and your neck. We're ending our class together, so there's really no need to use too much effort or strength. And we can open that left leg out to the left. Keep pushing down into your right heel and right hip, almost as if you could push into your right shoulder as well to prevent you from rolling and toppling over. Into our deep twist and IT band stretch, you're going to lift that leg all the way up from this centered position. You're going to continue dropping it over towards the right. I'm going to reach my left arm out to the side so that I'm anchoring my left shoulder into the mat. Deep breath in here. And bend into your left knee. You can release the hold of the strap if you were using one. It might feel good just to pull both knees in towards your chest, maybe coming into happy baby if you'd like, holding onto the big toes with the peace fingers, stacking ankles over your knees, maybe rocking a little side to side. And from happy baby pose, I'm just going to do a little knee pumping action. So I'm bringing my hands over the tops of my knees. And as I inhale, I'm straightening my arms. And on the exhale, I'm bending the elbows and bringing the knees in. And when I'm doing this motion, I'm trying to completely relax my legs. So it's not my hip flexors or my quads moving the legs away and back. It's really my arms. This is a really therapeutic movement for the lower back. And whenever you're ready, we'll find Shavasana, our final resting pose, taking up some space. Palms turning up towards the sky, closing your eyes. Feeling the effects of your practice, not just on your body, but also on your mind. All the ways that we twisted and stretched ourselves. It's all meant to be a mirror on how we're hopefully twisting and stretching our perspectives, our ways of thinking. So staying here, and I'll let you know when it's time to come out. And start to deepen your breath. We'll wake ourselves back up with some gentle movements through the extremities first. Maybe turn your head side to side. And our arms can reach up overhead. And roll to one side. Use your arms to push yourself up, coming into a seated position that supports your hips and your lower back. Sitting up tall. Hands joined together at the heart, Anjali Mudra. And let's close this practice by chanting Om together one time. Inhale to chant, breathe in. Thank you so much, everyone, for doing this full body, truly intermediate flow. I know there were definitely some challenging poses and transitions in this one, but I know it felt really good for me, so hopefully it felt really good for you at home as well. Leave me a comment, please subscribe, and hopefully we'll practice again together very soon.